Welcome to Black Bullet. The year is 2021. Tokyo has been turned into a dystopian city, where this giant monster called Greta,
How dare you!
Gary! Or Gil. Glenn? Is it? I don't know. It's something with a G!
Castreas are attacking the city. They manage to bring down the monster by shooting it, and it almost crushes a boy. Fast forward to 10 years later, where the boy is already grown up, and his name is Rentaro. He is some kind of a police officer who works on a weird special cases. We then cut to this scene where they raided an apartment along with the FBI. Rentaro busts through the door and sees that all of the officers are murdered by this Joker guy wearing a Dream mask. He tries to fight him but he fails. And Dream said, "I am the man who will destroy this world and no one will stop me." And he jumps through the window. We then cut to this girl running because Rentaro left her. Then a weird man asked for help but she said, "I can't help you, brother. Your AIDS looks uncurable." Then the guy turns into a giant spider Pokemon, and he shoots some cobweb on her and eats her out on a single shot. But just in a nick of time, Rentaro and the officer arrives. He then shoots the monster with these special bullets called black bullets, and with the help of the lolly girl, they manage to defeat the monster. Hooray! Rentaro reports back to her boss and tells her about the monster he just defeated. He then meets up with a smoking hot Gretaologist doctor who studies about Greta monsters. He asks some questions about genetic modification on how the virus turns people into Greta monsters, just like in the scene earlier. He then heads home and injects some heroin onto the lolly. So whiteboard time. In this world, there are monsters called Greta and they contain a virus. Once a human gets bitten, they turn into a Greta monster. The only way to stop these monsters is to kill them with certain type of metal called varanium. There are also these kids called cursed children. They are mostly females and they have red eyes. To simplify, cursed children are basically lolly girls on steroids because they possess some kind of superhuman abilities that can defeat a Greta. In this society, there are government organizations who specializes in this kind of mission, and they are called civil servants. Rentaro and the main lolly are part of this organization. They have a specific positions. Rentaro is a promoter and the main lolly is his assistant called initiators. Rentaro and his boss proceeds to this huge ass meeting with high-ranked government officials. Then a princess and an old man shows up in the screen and orders them to exterminate all Gretas and to bring back a stolen case. Then Rentaro's edgy boss asks, "Can you tell us who the fuck are you, bitch? I'm Tendo Kisara and I'm that old man's granddaughter. Oh, I heard a lot from you, but sadly I can't tell you. My boy is enough to retrieve the box, but why did you gather all of us here? Perhaps you're smuggling drugs in it." Then Dream shows up and makes a bet with the government people on who gets the box first, and the loser has to offer their lives, just like his series Manhunt. Then Low Budget Guts slashes him with his sword. Fuck, I can't read. Then Low Budget Guts slashes him with his sword and it ricochets. Then they start shooting at him. Then Rentaro figures out that he has a barrier.
This one is slightly smarter than all the other humans.
Dream then explains that he is a soldier, part of the anti-Greta plan. Blah 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 blah, and it's their choice to believe him or not. He then sends the bullets back to their owners, like Magneto, and he left a present to Rentaro.
Thank you, kind sir.
And he leaves. But that present contains the head and one of the higher officials. We then cut to Rentaro and the lolly shopping, where they stumble into this child who is stealing. The kid was then caught. Then the lolly said, "Why the fuck did you not help her? I thought you were the champion of justice." Rentaro then hijacks a Vespa and follows the police car, and he ends up in this abandoned building where the police officers beat up and killed the girl.
This is America.
But luckily, the girl is still alive because she is a girl's child, and he takes her to a nearby hospital and covers all the expenses. As he was heading home, Joker Dream shows up again and says, "I like you, but I'm not gay or anything. How about we team up just like KD and the Warriors back in 2017? Together, we can be unstoppable." Rentaro declines his offer and Dream leaves. The next morning comes and the lolly was missing. Rentaro searches for her and he ends up in the secret sewer bunker. He then asks this pedophile guy about the lolly girl, but he denies him and suggests him that he should get a new one. Rentaro then explains that the lolly is irreplaceable because of the bond they have over the past years. As Rentaro leaves, the lolly was just there hiding in the corner. He then meets up with the smoking hot doctor and tells his problems about the lolly being missing. After that, he then receives a call from the school that the lolly came back. The lolly was being bullied for being a weeb.
Like you believe that schoolgirls have eyes this big?
The pair then proceeds to the mission to retrieve a briefcase. The lolly then jumps out of the chopper and Rentaro follows her. Then they beat up the Greta monster and retrieve the briefcase. Then Dream shows up and proceeds to beat his ass and steals the box. Rentaro then wakes up in the hospital with her boss and the lolly by his side. Then they chat for a bit and the princess calls Rentaro and asks him to take part of the mission to retrieve the box from Joker Dream Guy. He accepts the mission and they were sent into the middle of the jungle along with the other groups. As the pair walks around, they've encountered some monsters and they find this initiator girl separated from her promoter, the low-budget Guts guy. Rentaro helps her and treats her wound and she says, "I'm jealous of your lolly partner because she has never killed anyone. I can see it in her eyes." Then her promoter calls her and he requests some backup. She teams up with Rentaro and the lolly to find their promoter. Then they've encountered a group of Greta monsters and the side lolly tells Rentaro to move forward and find her partner. Rentaro and the main lolly heads to this abandoned city where they find that the other groups were slaughtered. Then low-budget Guts shows up and wants to find the sword, but he didn't know that it was stuck right up his ass. And he dies. Lamau. I thought that he was an important character going forward, but I guess not. Then Dream shows up again and proclaims that he killed all of the promoters and he continues to fight Rentaro. Meanwhile, Kisara shows up in the HQ because the princess calls for her help and she says, "Oh, we win in this easy battle, boys."
Are you sure about that?
Then she explains that half of Rentaro's body is a robot and he was modified by the smoking hot doctor in order to save his life. Back to Rentaro, where he unleashes his full power and with one punch he was able to overpower Dream's cheat barrier and he drowns him into the sea. After the fight, Cthulhu shows up and tries to destroy the city. He then finds this huge ass giant cannon, but it is out of ammo. But he uses his prosthetic arm as a bullet and headshots Cthulhu. After the battle, Rentaro finds out that the side lolly is incapacitated. She begs him to shoot her before she turns into a Greta monster, and Rentaro shoots her with respect. Then we cut back to Rentaro where he visits this old man, where he talks about his past and he complains about the new law on Greta children equality or some shit. Rentaro was summoned by the princess for a mission. Then he meets up with this another police dude who corners him into the bathroom along with 3 dudes. Then he persists on Rentaro to decline the mission, but he does some kind of John Wick move to scare the bullies, and he accepts the mission to be the princess bodyguard. As he went outside, he sees this lolly being bullied. They've talked for a bit, and it turns out that she is a hitman all along, and her mission is to kill the princess and Rentaro. Rentaro begins his mission as the princess escort, and they have a meeting with this fat-ass politician Wolverine guy. So I'm going to summarize their meeting. Fat Wolverine guy complains why Rentaro destroyed the big-ass Greta cannon. He was going to use that weapon to threaten other countries and conquer them. But the princess and Rentaro are highly against his plans. As they head home, their car was shot by a sniper. Rentaro and the lolly manages to protect the princess. Rentaro meets up with the lolly again, but after giving her some food, she walks away and she was given another mission to kill Kisara. Rentaro meets up with this kinky bitch to analyze the bullet that shot their car. The lolly heads to Kisara's office and sprays her with a minigun. Kisara was almost choked to death, but Rentaro arrives to save her. He then finally pieces all the clues together on who tried to kill the princess. Then we cut to Rentaro escorting the princess again. As they were about to leave the car, the lolly tries to assassinate her again. Then the main lolly parkours his way onto the buildings to find the sniper. Rentaro tells the princess about the deeds, that an assassin named Tina is trying to kill her. Then the princess said, "Tina? She's a top 97 rank in the mechanized soldier. Call your lolly back or she will die." Rentaro calls the lolly back but it's too late. He then visits the smoking hot doctor to learn more about the powers of a cursed child. Then he trains for a bit and gets ready for the final showdown. Rentaro and the bad lolly meets up in this abandoned city. They start fighting and it was so epic that you have to see it for yourself. The lolly corners Rentaro but with some plot armor lock, the flashbang he throws earlier suddenly explodes and he uses that opportunity to take her down. After the fight, the edgy police officer shows up and tries to kill the lolly, but the princess stops him. She then tells Rentaro that she will grant any kind of request Rentaro makes, just like a genie. He then asks to be promoted so that he can protect more people, and she grants her request on the spot, and Rentaro fires the edgy police on the spot too, just like Elon Musk. The princess meets up with Kisara and Rentaro and tells them that they are building another monolith. These tall-like towers that are surrounding the city, these are called monoliths. It's like an insect repellent for the Greta monsters. The reason they are building this because there are 2,000 Greta monsters that are coming to destroy Tokyo, and they need some preventive measurements. The princess orders Rentaro to assemble a team that can defeat these monsters. Ooh, just like the Avengers. The pair then visits this mall where they meet this blind cursed child, who I think will have some importance in the plot later. Rentaro just gives her some money and tells her to fuck off and never come back because the people here are racist. He then tries to recruit this blonde mercenary guy, and he says, "Will you join my low budget Avengers group?" "Hell nah dude, I don't wanna work for a pussy like you." Then they do a mock battle to test Rentaro's abilities, and he manages to convince him by pounding his head. He then meets up with the smoking hot doctor again to assess Tina's abilities as an initiator so that she can both study and compare the abilities of Tina and the main lolly. Rentaro and the group heads to this campsite where promoters and initiators are gathered for a mission. Rentaro meets up with his senpai in his old dojo. Then they start a campfire and plans to recruit more fighters for the team. Kisara then suddenly arrives and tells the group that she registered herself as a promoter and Tina as her partner initiator. Then we cut into Rentaro and Kisara educating these orphan cursed children from episode 2. Remember them? He lets them write what their dreams are and takes them on a field trip around the city. 5 of the girls, including the main lolly and Tina, confesses their feelings to Rentaro. At this point of the anime, the FBI should have him the most wanted person right now. Kisara and Rentaro investigates this monolith, and they've noticed that it's getting rustier. As Rentaro roams into the city, he finds this blind girl again being molested. He then rushes to protect her. Then the blind lolly confesses her feelings towards Rentaro, adding another reason for the FBI to catch him. A day passes and Kisara burns this new article, but Rentaro manages to save it, which headlines that the Monolith 32, which is the object they are currently guarding right now, was built for some shady political reasons. Then the next day comes. Rentaro and the main lolly heads to the cursed children orphanage again to teach the kids. After they've arrived, police were surrounding the area and tells Rentaro that the place has been bombed and the authorities recovered 32 bodies. Rentaro then identifies the bodies and confirms that these are his students. Press Fs in the chat. Kisara then calls him and he says, "What are we fighting for? We are fighting for justice." Then the monolith collapses because of the weak internal structure. The Great Greta invasion finally begins. The gang manages to stop some of the monsters with teamwork, and this guy is having an existential crisis in the middle of the battlefield after his lolly partner died. Then he died by being swallowed by the Greta monster. The invasion stops after the huge Nessie-like monster shoots its laser towards the fighting ground. We then cut to the gang along with the smoking hot doctor in helping on treating the wounds of the mercenaries. Rentaro was then summoned by this pedophile Vin Diesel lookalike, and he asked, "Did my son die being a pussy?" "No, he died like a Chad. I want you to infiltrate the base of the monster and kill the queen called the Aldebaran or bring back some useful information." And Rentaro agrees. As he begins his mission, he encounters some Greta monsters and falls into this cliff. And then a familiar face shows up and it's the Joker Dream guy.
Prank, baby!
Rentaro says, "How the fuck are you alive?" "By clicking the respawn button. Can't you see I'm the greatest Minecraft player ever? And I've seen your battle yesterday. It was amazing. If you're watching, why didn't you help us? Why the fuck would I help the government? I'm a terrorist, you stupid cunt. I want war, not peace." "Then why do you wear a mask? Do you have a turd on your face?" "I hate showing my face because the internet made fun of me for doing it once." Now, I've deleted that video so you can't see it anymore, so come to the dark side with me. Rentaro declines his offer once again. The next morning comes and Rentaro continues his mission while Dream tags along. Rentaro and Dream finds this huge ass Greta monster resting. They both attack the monster simultaneously and burst its blue bile out. Then the monster starts to move again into the city. Rentaro goes back to his squad to strategize. Then Kisara said, "You know, our leader Vin Diesel? Well, he died, and now you're promoted to be the leader." Then Rentaro made his first move as the leader. by teaming up with Dream full-time and bringing in the kinky bitch as the strategist. Then she proposes a plan where Rentaro will plant the bomb inside the monster's body and by creating a space for him, because the monster can regenerate as you can see in this scene. The gang then prepares for the final showdown, where all the cards are set: the king, the queen, the jack, the ace, and the joker. Then the final showdown begins. The group follows according to the plan, where they are covering for Rentaro as he makes his way to the Nessie monster. He then uses his bionicle arms and punches a hole into the monster's body, and successfully plants the bomb. The pair then finds a cover and counts down for the explosion, but the bomb loses its signal and it didn't explode. Rentaro then says his goodbyes to the main lolly and knocks her unconscious. He then charges head onto the monster and plans to sacrifice himself, but the monster spits an acid that can deteriorate Varanium mentals, and his feet is made out of Varanium. But luckily, Flashy Flash notices him and picks him up. He then activates the bomb by punching it and sacrifices his life in order to save Rentaro. Then we cut to Rentaro and Kisara meeting up with his older brother. Then she says, "Can you tell me about the Monolith 32 collapsing? You're the engineer behind it, right?"
Yes, I am.
"Then you're the fucking reason why my parents died, you cunt." Then the both of them starts a honorable duel. Kisara uses her new technique to cut her brother's legs. She manages to get a confession out of him, and he says, "Yes, I did it for the money. We need to silence your dad because he was kind of a dick." Then as the gang leaves out the door, his head bursts like a jelly sandwich and he dies. So she used the Brook technique on him. Rentaro neglects her and tells both of the lollies to watch out for her, because they will become an enemy in the future. Then they have a nice train ride, where he cries into the main lolly's knees, and he tells her that he's afraid of losing his emotions over people dying. The end. This anime gets a mashed potato out of a gun.